All right, we are back. So, last episode, we went through Justin Fields, and so moving right on down the list for all of you anxious Niner fans out there, let's get to the name that has gained the most buzz here in the last week, Mr. Mack Jones, who was on everybody's radar, but seems that once the 49ers traded up to pick 3, seemed to trigger some buzz, some serious buzz. So I thought it made sense to go through it a little bit. I have my opinions, but try to, as always, not being a scout, pull information from a lot of different sources, a lot of different reports that's accessible, to the public. Watch whatever highlights you can. Seeing what guys like Greg Cosell, Ted Nguyen, Lance Zierlein, and a bunch of other really good websites and people are talking about Mack Jones and how it relates specifically to the 49ers and is he really the best fit for Kyle Shanahan? So let's get into it. Mack Jones. So he's 6'3", about 220. He is 22 years old, similar to Fields. He has started 17 games, which I think is 5 less than Fields. He attempted 556 passes in college. Again, a little bit less than Fields. He started 4 or 5 games his 2 years ago when Tua went down, and then obviously started the entire season this year. So he took the reins, and boy, did he deliver, right? Granted, I know the criticism, and we'll get into it a little bit, but the Tide was just flat out dominant. They barely had any close games. They just ran through everybody in college football this year. So when it comes to Mack Jones, some of the things that can be said about him that are really positive, are poise, right? He's very consistent. He's considered very smart. He can pick up any system. Granted, he was in the Tide system for a few years, ready to take the reins, but he stepped right in and delivered. People have talked about how he throws a really catchable ball. He's a leader who teammates really go to bat for. It's funny, a week or two ago, people were talking to some of the Tide receivers, Devonta Smith. I don't believe Henry Ruggs commented, but Waddle, Ruggs. Ruggs didn't comment. Forgetting the other one. Judy. And they all said they preferred Mack Jones to Tua, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't really know what's going on there. If they truly prefer him as a quarterback or, the leader part. Everyone says great things about the guy, great personality, a guy you want to run through a wall for. Those check out. He's a really good mover within the pocket, and he's got enough athleticism. There's a few highlights that I saw that, he definitely isn't Lamar Jackson out there, but he can get away from pressure. We'll see, how that translates to the NFL when you have every defensive lineman seems today running 4.5s, 4.4s. But he's got enough. A few of the things that people do talk about a lot is accuracy and ball placement. This is one thing that Mack Jones does extremely well. You can see here in this highlight, clean pocket, obviously, which we'll get to, but he hits back, the ball, back shoulder. It's impossible for the corner to make a play here. I know his receiver had a step or two on the guy, but that's still a difficult pass. So he hit it on the mark. He did this over and over again last year and made passes that, made all the plays and the throws that he was asked to make. So he can definitely deliver on that front. Kind of going away from this here, getting into some of the criticisms, right? The cons, I should say. He lacks elite arm and athleticism, average tools, in that sense. And I think, when we're talking about average tools, right, the guy started for Alabama. It was a 4-star recruit coming out. So average in relation to me, maybe, or you, but when you compare him to some of these other prospects, some of the guys that are currently in the NFL, the other 32 starting quarterbacks, let's say, or 31, I should say, he's got an average arm. It's nothing special. You saw it in his pro day when he had to get it downfield. He really had to throw some serious weight into it and some effort. Whereas when you watch guys like Fields or Trevor Lawrence, with ease, Zach Wilson, you saw that throw, the roll into his left. Those guys flick of the wrist goes 60 yards, and they just have a natural ball that pops. So he doesn't have that elite arm to kind of compare with those guys. which is where he makes it up again in the accuracy part. Some of the other criticisms or negatives on him, like Fields and Lance, they all have it. Very limited starts in college. The other thing that is kind of the elephant in the room, and this is where I have my biggest concerns about Mack Jones, is he played with what was considered one of the best teams of all time in college. I mean, elite talent at just about every single position offensively for him. I mean, he's going to have a number of offensive linemen drafted with him. He's going to have Najee Harris, who was completely dominant. 2 years ago, he played with 4 NFL receivers. 2 of them went in the first round last year. 2 are going this year. So, when you talk about some of the things that he did, granted, he needs the credit because he got the ball there and delivered. And again, what I said, delivers the throw he was asked to do. However, when you watch some of the plays, we showed it in the last highlight, when you have receivers that are consistently 1, 2, 3 steps on someone, or Devontae Smith, creating 10 yards of separation on people, it's a little bit easier to get the ball there, right? One of the plays I think that stood out it's not that he can't get the ball downfield, but this is a lot of what we saw out of Alabama last year, right? A quick little easy screen pass, and Devontae Smith just takes it to the house. A quick, easy 30-yard touchdown. I'm not saying he didn't make great plays. I'm not saying he didn't go downfield and make some of the difficult touchdown passes and all that, but this was a big piece of what Alabama did, get the ball to your playmakers and let them make plays. And some stats to kind of back it up is when you look at the air yards that popped from last year. So air yards meaning upon completion, how many of your yards is the ball traveling in the air before it gets to the receiver, right? So you can see here Justin Fields, almost 70%. That's huge, right? He is throwing the ball downfield, almost the majority, or almost the yards that he's getting, most of them. It's because he is leading the receiver down the field, right? They're not, the yards after catch may not be as big, or whatever you might want to say. Fields is airing it out. Same with Zach Wilson. Over 60% is really good. Kyle Trask followed that at 57.8%. And then down here, Mack Jones at 47.8, still not horrible, right? Like that's fine. Trevor Lawrence at 43 was kind of shocking to see. But again, you look at Mack Jones, you look at Trevor Lawrence, these guys had elite weapons around them. Not that Fields didn't at Ohio State, but these guys have first-round talents going at running back, receiver, tight end every single year. And it's an offense that's catered to, be on time, get the ball out of your hands, get it to your playmakers, and let it ride. I just don't know how well that translates to the NFL. Like, you're going to be asked to make those passes, absolutely. And there are guys out there, the DeAndre Hopkins of the world, Julio's, Devontae Adams, where, yes, you do want to get the ball to them 2-3 yards down the field and let them do their thing. But is that your offense in the NFL? Like, we're seeing that I don't know if that really wins you a division or wins you a Super Bowl or whatever. We look at some of the guys that are tearing the league up. Rodgers is running more of a West Coast offense, sure, right now. But, you look at guys like Josh Allen. You look at Mahomes, obviously. Like, those guys are going downtown, down the field. They are pushing the ball. They are living in that, 10, 15, 20-yard range and beyond. Not everybody's got 3 or 4 Tyreek Hills around them. Right? That's what Mack Jones had in college. Let's be real. And the talent and the competition he was facing did not have 4, 5, 6, 7 guys on their defense that are pro caliber or starting NFL players. So the competition is going to be stiffer. You're not going to be able just to flick it out and let a guy take it 40, 50 yards all the time, every game. So it's going to happen. Again, nitpicking, right? Mack Jones had an incredible year. He does all the things that you're asking him to do. But I'm just calling out what I see. So when you pull that down, again, he's playing with some of the best players in the country all around him on basically an all-star team, which leads to, I don't know if you want to say he struggles to improvise, or more so we just haven't seen him do it too much. And it's just, again, because most of the things Alabama wanted to do worked every week. They were just better than other people. And let's, call it what it is. When you have Najee Harris running for 150, 250 yards a weekend, defenses kind of have to pick and choose who to take away. Like, there are going to be situations in the NFL where that comes into play, but it's just something to kind of keep in mind. So there's some concerns about him needing all those puzzle pieces around him to be successful. And I don't know if that's the truth or more so that we just haven't seen Mack Jones play a football game without elite talent around him, which is going to happen at the next level. They're all going to be elite, but newsflash is the NFL. Those guys have elite talent too. So what do you do when you're kind of, even, so to speak? So that's some of the things people say, I have been talking about with Mack Jones. And then, one of the things, and I don't know how much teams are weighing this or whatnot, but, a couple of years ago, he did have some off the field trouble. I think he had a DUI. Saban kept him in the program, and he obviously did everything he was asked to do to stay a part of that. But I don't know. Some teams value it. Some teams don't. Some teams flag it, whatever you might want to say. Baker Mayfield, had some issues a couple of years ago and was the first overall pick. So it is what it is. So kind of why we're doing the pod, how it relates to the 49ers. All I keep hearing is how Kyle Shanahan, this guy was made for Kyle. This guy was made for his offense. I don't know how true that is, right? Like, you look back at everything, and Kirk Cousins was a 4th-round pick for the Redskins, or football team now, sorry. Kirk Cousins was a 4th-round pick. So as much as they love Kirk Cousins, like, a 4th-round pick tells you what you need to know. If he started at Michigan State, they could have taken him over RG3, but they chose to go with the explosive home run shot with RG3. As far as an OC goes, Matt Schaub, Matt Ryan, all these guys, like, Kyle was the OC, right? Like, these guys were already in place. He wasn't, like, sitting there staking the entire franchise on these guys, and there's nothing against them, but I'm just saying, like, everyone talks about Kyle's mold. He kind of worked with what he had and has done an amazing job. That's why he's a head coach and widely regarded as one of the best offensive minds out there. But let's just slow down a little bit on what Kyle's, like, perfect dream quarterback looks like. So the consensus seems to be that Mack Jones obviously is a starting NFL quarterback, people think. Most project him to be kind of a middle-of-the-road quarterback, though. Like a back-end starting quarterback, a guy that can get it done. A guy that can, move your offense and keep you in games and everything. But again, the biggest concern for me is people are touting, like, a lot of his intangibles, right? They're pretty unpredictable. Like, everybody would love to draft a flabby Tom Brady, that had, like, good arm strength, not amazing, all these things. But, like, what Tom did mentally and behind the scenes, like, you can't project that. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. If it was that easy, everybody would draft for intangibles, right? So that's one of my biggest concerns. And I think, people would say that Garoppolo's a great leader too. Garoppolo's tough. He can win with pieces around him. He showed that 2 years ago when he was healthy. They got to the Super Bowl when they had an amazing running game. They had some weapons. They had a great defense. They had Kyle calling plays. So my overall feeling is, like, I don't know why would the 49ers would mortgage the farm, for the next couple of years and trading a haul of picks to trade up and draft a younger Jimmy Garoppolo or, a Kirk Cousins or an Alex Smith like. Like, I just don't know if that doesn't add up to me. So I have my reservations that that's who the Niners are targeting at 3. Obviously, we'll find out in about a month or so. But that's kind of my overall thoughts. I think they're looking at more of a dynamic person with elite skills, elite tools, a, so to speak, better piece of clay for Kyle to mold. Especially if they're planning to keep Jimmy Garoppolo for this season. They get essentially a redshirt year. So in my opinion is, like, why would you draft a guy with a lower ceiling if that's what your plan is? So I think they're going in a different direction. Think of the Zach Wilsons, Justin Fields, Trey Lance. I don't think it's Mack Jones, but, we've gone through some positives and negatives. We'll find out. So that does it. So thanks for joining, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe, drop any comments if you agree or disagree, and give me a follow on Twitter. I'm at VinnyLevine29. We'll see you next time. Peace.